All right, I have restored and refurbished and worked on a lot of receivers. I have never seen anything this interesting. This is what's called the Jumbo Jet. That's a trade name for the Kenwood KR-6170 from around 1971. This thing has a lot of features, and that's why they call it the Jumbo Jet. AM/FM tuner, VU meters, microphone left and right with a level input, and output in the front. My gosh, that's like 90s, 2000s with the outputs in the front. Power meter pre-out adjustment, headphones with variable adjustment, guitar left and right, a reverb, and get this, an electronic rhythm control. This is a drum set. So let me just give you a quick overview here. So here is the unit performing with just music. It's incredible. It depends how you set the power meter switch. Bass, treble, and all sorts of tone adjustments here. Let me turn that off. Let's now go to the drum machine. We're gonna go over here, turn off the tape monitor. Here's the speed. So you would put this over your guitar and your microphones. Would you like some reverb? You can add reverb. All right. This thing is just so interesting. It has 4 sets of speakers, A through D. It has a power limiter, which is a little cheesy. It's not a resistor, but it actually does reduce your wattage down to 50 watt and 100 watt speakers. By the way, the unit doesn't put out more than like 33 watts per channel. So there's a little bit of foolery here in terms of like what they're considering wattage. But this is a way to help save your speakers, not the amp. It has a timer. So if you want to go to bed and have the radio on for 1 or 2 hours, you turn this knob to 1 hour or 2 hours. Okay? So that timer goes. Really, really interesting. If I put on like, there's FM, and the FM is working beautifully after I replaced everything and cleaned everything up. You can put reverb to anything that's going on. I wonder if YouTube will get that as copyright. Anyways, that's a Jumbo Jet. Stay tuned for the detailed cleanup of this unit. Okay, I've been wanting a Jumbo Jet Kenwood receiver, a KR-6170. Well, I got one. This one appears to be in pretty good shape. It's dirty. This doesn't look like it came from a smoker, but it's got some dust. What's nice is that the lettering is not chipping off. What I don't know is if it just chips off from fingerprint or oil or wear. But a lot of these, the lettering is off. Anyways, we're going to give this a first power on. I hooked up a pair of speakers, and let's see what we get. That's good. Let me hear. I thought I heard a little click, but I don't know if that was inside or not. Okay, hold on here. Interesting. We're getting some action on the VU meters. But nothing. Okay, I'm going to have to mess around with this. This has a lot of different settings and different things. But it looks like these 3 bulbs are out. Looks like one of maybe 4 or 5 display bulbs are out. And from what I can tell, all of the input bulbs are working. I don't know if FM auto, maybe that comes on when you're in stereo. But anyways, this has a timer. And I suspect somebody thought this was not working because if you don't do anything, the power button won't do anything until you go like this. Okay, now I'm giving another power cycle. No, I didn't hear a click, so I don't know if this has a protection circuit. So I'm going to go ahead and mess around with this, but it looks like we're not getting any sound. So I don't know if the speakers are bad or not. I mean, the amplifier is bad. I've been playing with all the buttons and such, and I cannot get any sound to come out of the amp. And I don't hear a protection relay, but I don't know if this has one. But here's what I did. I took the pre-outs, hooked them up to a receiver, an external amp up there. It's tuning in, and I can hear it's in stereo. We're getting AM. Look, check this out. We're getting the rhythm. I don't know about the reverb at this point, but we're getting rhythm. So this is working. The preamp is working. The lights are all burnt out. And now, well, okay, so we have life. We have to figure out why the amp isn't working. I'm going to open this up in a moment. Okay, I hooked the speakers up again. I found out that B is working. The others are not, so I don't know what that is. And I found that this button is very sensitive because it's dirty. This is playing natively through the amp, so I can confirm we've got left and right. The amp is good. The bass and treble is also excellent. And we're getting AM. And then here's that rhythm. But the rhythm doesn't seem to have a volume here. Anyways, this is going to get opened up. But what I've proven is the amp left and right is working. The tuner is working. The rhythm composer, the drum machine and such is working. Tone circuit's working. What I don't know is if the reverb is working or not. I don't know how to get this going. I suspect all of these push buttons are completely filthy. And that was exactly what I was expecting. But we're going to open this up. It's in great shape. It just looks dusty. Hopefully that's the only issue. But the fact that it sounds good and it's in stereo is showing that it just needs a clean out. Okay, I have it open. And from what I can tell, no one's been in here. And I'll tell you why. A lot of times when someone's been in something, you see like fingerprints and stuff, and I see just a layer of dust everywhere. Looks good. I mean, I don't see any significant heat damage. I don't know what all these circuits are. I can suspect what they are. We got the tuner. This is probably driver board for the transistors, which are probably on the bottom. All of those switches, they can be sprayed from right back here. Oh my gosh, this is going to be really easy. The lights, looks like a couple screws, take those off. So this should be pretty easy to clean, but we're going to start with a a vacuum clean out with a paintbrush. And I'm going to go through and just get a layer of dust and clean this up. Oops, here's the reverb unit. That's intact. Okay, so I'm going to clean this out and we'll go from there. But again, we got, looks like it's all working. It just needs a complete cleanup. All right, the inside has been vacuumed out. I don't strive for perfection. You're going to still find some dust in here, but my idea is to get things clean. If there's something I can do to kind of, wipe something down, I will. What I don't want to do is disturb anything. I see some adjustments right here. Those are probably bias adjustments. I also found the output transistors. They're right over here. But anyways, this has now been cleaned. Now the bottom will be a different story when I take it off. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by taking this whole thing apart. I'm going to take the front panel off. I lied. I decided to take the bottom off, and the bottom didn't have any fingerprints or anything. And this looks very, very clean. Maybe because it's so shiny, it just looks kind of cool. But I'm going to bet this is a low hour unit because I don't see a lot of char marks or anything. But then again, if all the dial lights are burned out, that would show that it's been used as well. So I don't know. Bottom looks great. I am going to take the front off because we're going to do the whole thing here. I just turned this on one more time. Anytime I'm vacuuming and I'm messing with stuff, and it's probably me, I just like to have a sanity check that I haven't broken anything. And normally I'm going to have stuff apart if I'm working on it, but this is just something I wanted to make sure it was still working. So I'm going to take the front panel off. All right, I took all the knobs off, and there's 3 sets of lock washers. Took those off. I've got a collection here. I'll be cleaning all those. This should come right off. Oh, look at that. There we go. We can get to all the buttons now. We can shoot deoxit into all these potentiometers and let it just soak back as well as from the back to it. Well, this is off. This will get a complete cleaning. I can see a lot of dust. And then I got to figure out how do I polish this silver stuff without the lettering coming off. I might try water, but I need to test it in an inconspicuous place. Because all the ones I see online have lettering removed. So I'm thinking that the paint just might be kind of bad, or it might be very kind of weak. Anyways, it's off. So now I'm going to go ahead and do a clean out and spray all the potentiometers and all the push buttons with deoxit. All right, every potentiometer and switch has been cleaned really thoroughly. Everything is working crisp, including this attenuator, the mute switch, the tape motors, and the potentiometers. Wow, everything seems to be great. I even did all the buttons down here for the various tempos. Anyways, this has all been deoxit, and I also, and this is deoxit for those who don't use it. I use the fader loop, but either one, F5 or D5, and you just spray it in the controls. I also then use synthetic lubricant, and I did the tuner, all the bearings, put a little bit of grease, all the spots where the string goes, not touching the screen, put a little bit of oil. So now this guy is moving really, really smooth, where before it was kind of stuck. So at this point, there's a couple things left. I got to clean this front panel. I then have to replace the lights. Then I have to do a rebias. I don't know how off the bias and the DC offset's going to be, which is how you optimally set this so it's working to a factory spec, at least the amp. These transistors are not getting hot, which means it doesn't look like anything is over biased or we're having any problems. They would usually get hot if they are, but I'm still going to be doing that adjustment. But we are close, and I see that I do see that the meters are working and such, as well as the tuning to a certain extent. So anyways, we got some more stuff to figure out, but we're getting close. Faceplate cleaned up really nicely. I did use Windex on here. I did a test spot and it was fine. I used the stuff with the ammonia, the stuff that you can't drink, the unsafe stuff from the dollar store. It really cuts the grime. And I also use a bunch of these little tools. Not tools, they're like Q-tips, but they don't fall apart like Q-tips. And I cleaned everything, and I'll be cleaning the jacks and stuff here too. But in general, I'm happy with the way that this turned out. So this is now complete. I'm going to have to figure out how to get that FM bulb and then the other bulbs replaced, and then we do a biasing. Really excited to see this come back to life, but right now it's looking really good. It took a little bit of work to get this out. I think I may do these from the front. I don't know, but I'm able to get back here, and I've got some, there I should be 8 volt. I got some new fuse lamps, which these are called fuse lamps because they look like fuses. And then I have 2 little incandescents, one for the stereo indicator. That one's not working. And then I'm going to have to get down there and replace the second one for the FM. I'm not going to replace them all. If I'm a purist, I would do them all, but my guess is this thing just played FM radio. That's why that one bulb was burned out. So I'll be back. Okay, I replaced the FM light. I soldered these wires, and I also use heat shrink tubing. When you're soldering or using a heat gun ever, always protect your dial string. Let me tell you, I learned the hard way by bumping a soldering iron, and you never want to have to restring a tuner. So I just put a piece of paper there. But anyways, I'm going to put this, I'm going to reuse the grommet. I'm going to get it back. And let's see if we haven't broken anything, and then we'll replace the FM stereo light. Much better. Oh my gosh. Now we have a fully illuminated tuner, and there's that second burned out light, which was the FM. So now I'm going to redo the stereo light. All right, stereo light's in. This has all been relamped, except for the meters. So just going to kind of tidy this up. I did the heat shrink tubing on that as well, so it's good. It's not moving anywhere. So this is next. Got about 2 hours invested, plus or minus a half hour, maybe 2.5. It's really coming to life. Check that out. I got the bulbs behind the meters replaced. It looks like the middle meter is like a little bit more yellowed, but they're sealed. And the bulbs are the same. We got the stereo light. We got the FM auto indicator. Might be a little bit brighter than the others, but oh well. But so far, everything just seems to be working good, and all these switches are working nice. So I'm going to pick this up later. Also need to, as I said, rebias this, check the offset, and then I notice the spring has broken here. So I'll end up replacing probably all these springs. I actually have extra springs, a whole assortment from Harbor Freight, so I'll go ahead and replace those. But we are nearing the end of where we'll just be able to burn this in for a number of hours over the weekend. All right, I got all the knobs cleaned and reassembled. I also realized I put like a yellow LED instead of a red one, or it was a white that was too bright. So I just changed the stereo light to a red LED, which I had in stock, which matches the way it should look versus that yellow, which was coming up earlier. I also took a look at the springs. It turns out one of these just had like broken off and was loose, so I was able to reuse the existing springs. Everything seems to be working. Now it's time for the idling current adjustment. This doesn't really have a bias. There's bias, there's idle current, there's different amplifier adjustments, but I'm going to be adjusting these 2 potentiometers, one there and one there, which is on the, looks like the driver board. And then I got to either clip onto the transistors or just the speaker outputs, but we're going to see how far off this is. For some reason, I feel like it's not going to be far off. Okay, we're getting down to the end. The service manual is asking for an oscilloscope and a lot more fancy adjustments, and while that might be great, I went online and found some guy that did a full restoration, and he's very, very credible from what I can tell. And we got our test points here, and this should be 14.1. We also want this to be on for a little bit, so it's been on for maybe 5 minutes. I could argue maybe it should be on for 15 minutes. I'm just going to do it now. Here's the thing, it's not increasing. It was at like 2.4 when I started. So I shot some some deoxit into the potentiometer. Let's now adjust this to be 14.1. And just got to do a little at a time. I usually like to be a little bit lower because sometimes, if anything, it's going to creep up as it gets hotter. What do the instructions say? It doesn't say how long. Sometimes it'll say, 20 minutes, whatever. I'm actually going to make this at like 13.5. Here's the thing. This was off by almost 10 millivolts. So I'm confident that we're good. This is going to bounce around, but I'd rather it be a little lower than a little bit hotter. So I'm just going to put it at 13, assuming that this may jump up a little as it gets hotter. Let's try the other channel. Hold on. Okay, we're going to check the right channel now. So I've got the probes there, and that's the potentiometer. I sprayed some deoxit on it, and we're getting about 8.9, 8.8. This has been on for at least 5, 6, 7 minutes. Plus, it's been on earlier, like in the last hour, a number of times. So I'm convinced. I'll bring this up to about 13, 13.5. It should be 14.1, but because this is old, it hasn't been recapped and such, the values are going to drift. The idea is to get it in a better spot. This already is much better than the other one was. 13, I don't remember, but I did 13.5, but close enough. This is going to bounce around. It's never going to stay exact. But now we've got the amp biased to the way it should be, meaning that the transistors will activate and work the way that they should, factory spec. Let me go ahead and turn this off, and we'll hook up the speakers again, and let's try it. Okay, always good to turn it on and make sure it's functioning. Let me tell you, if you accidentally cross any of those two or put them on the wrong wires and it touches something, you're likely going to blow out your outputs as well as other parts. So you got to be real careful. That's why I used a towel to protect the leads so that they wouldn't touch the ground or anything, like the ground being the chassis. At this point, the FM is tuning dead on. It's coming in stereo. The AM is tuning dead on, so there's no pointer adjustment. Amp is biased. The meters are behaving acceptably. I'm sure there's some minute adjustments for those. I am done. What I'm going to do is put the lid on. I'm going to clean this up and put some furniture polish on it. Then I'm going to clean the back jacks, and I'll be back. And then this is ready for a burn-in, which to me is running it for a good 2 to 4 hours at a respectful, loud volume. And I'll do it this weekend in my basement where I hang out with my family, my kids. That's the finished product. Top was in really, really good shape. I mean, not a single chip, not a single scratch, to be honest with you. But this is ready. So we're gonna get this hooked up to some Pioneer HPM 60s, I think. Maybe the 100s, but probably the 60s or the 40s. And we'll give this a real good workout.